Hello everybody and welcome back to Dollar Tree Dinners and welcome to this week's meals. I am really digging the use what you got cooking, but in order to use what you got, I have to actually have things, and currently my fridge is quite bare. So I'm gonna just start off by making like a really easy meal plan. It's just Michael and I until Friday, and then Friday we have the kids for the weekend. So I'm only gonna plan our meals through Thursday. So I do know today I'm gonna be making a gumbo, so I'm gonna pick up the ingredients for that. But I still already have most of the things that I need to make that. I still have all of my chicken stock. I might end up deboning these chicken thighs and making boneless, skinless chicken thighs and using those in the gumbo. As far as the vegetables go, I have some Dollar Tree frozen seasoning blend. I have 2 bags of this. So I might use one, I might use both. This is what my spice drawer is currently looking like since I moved here. So I did go to Dollar Tree and I picked up quite a few things. We've got some Italian seasoning, chili powder, garlic powder, paprika, everything but the leftovers, crushed red pepper flake, pepper. So that's all Dollar Tree stuff. Then I got cayenne pepper from the grocery outlet. I got onion powder, cinnamon, and thyme from Walmart. I only got the thyme to make one specific thing, which was scalloped potatoes for Christmas. That's the only reason I have that. And then these were all sent to me in like a PR package. So I have a bunch of these. They do have a Cajun seasoning. I might end up using some of that. So I've gone through my fridge, my freezer, and my pantry and pulled out a couple things that I want to use up this week. So first of all, we're gonna make gumbo. So I've got my seasoning blend and some rice to go with that. One of the meals is going to be chili with cornbread. The last time I reheated the chili, I added some extra tomato sauce and beans to it. I will do that again this week. We're going to use the salsa chicken from my freezer with some Spanish rice and some beans to make some burritos. I just set aside some bread and some pickles just as a reminder to get sandwich stuff. And I have still some of this 15-pound bag of potatoes I need to use up. So we're going to do a couple of potato dinners. And so this is the plan that I came up with. So lunches will either be leftovers or sandwiches, and then for dinners we have the gumbo, the chicken burritos. We're gonna do some loaded barbecue bowls. That's where I make a bed of mashed potatoes. I put corn, barbecue chicken, and fried onions on top of it. We'll do breakfast for dinner one of the days, so like my potato and egg skillet with sausage and cheese, and then the final dinner will be chili with cornbread. List of things that I need this week. For the most part, I might not get the sandwich rolls because I do still have some bread left to use up. But that's more if we want like a fancier sandwich, I guess. So coffee creamer, cornbread mix, I'll get that at Dollar Tree. Eggs, I have turkey, but I need some more ham. Lettuce and tomato are just kind of sandwich toppings. Some chips to go on the side of those. I need some more freezer bags. Sour cream and cheese, we put that on pretty much everything. Andouille sausage to make the gumbo, and maybe shrimp if I can get it at a good price. Some extra beans to add to my chili, some sandwich rolls, butter, and then I just need to check and see if I have everything to make the barbecue bowls, but I'm pretty sure I do. I have some barbecue sauce left, and I have some crispy onions from Dollar Tree. I think I'm going to get some more barbecue sauce, either at Grocery Outlet or Dollar Tree, but I think that's pretty much the whole list of everything that will get us through these next 5 days. I have kind of a fun game that I want to play with you guys called Guess What's the Most Expensive Thing I Bought Today. So this is my Grocery Outlet receipt. My total came out to $54.98. And this is my entire haul. Tim's jalapeno chips are our favorite chips, and I do buy them occasionally as a treat. This is the coffee creamer that I like. It's just International Delight Caramel Macchiato. We've got some sour cream. We've got smoked sausage. We have a pound of shrimp. Pinto beans. These are organic, but they were still cheaper than the beans at Dollar Tree. Freezer bags. Oh, that's from Dollar Tree. Oops. We've got a big bag of Roma tomatoes, some deli ham, a head of lettuce, I think this is a 2-pound bag of shredded cheddar cheese. Use this in a lot of things, and this will last me about 2 weeks. We have our Bluebonnet. We have our eggs. Take a minute. Guess. What was the most expensive thing here? I can almost guarantee you won't be able to guess what it is. Did you guess the dozen eggs? Yes, they're cage-free. That is all I can find here. This was $7.49. It is actually tied, technically speaking, with this big bag of cheese. These were both $7.49. I will go ahead and show you. right here. Cage-free eggs 1, $7.49. Medium cheddar, $7.49. But that's my haul. Spent $54 at Grocery Outlet and an extra $2.50 at Dollar Tree. At Dollar Tree, I just got the barbecue sauce and I got some of their honey sweet cornbread mix. I actually haven't tried this in a long time. I was gonna get the Jiffy mix, which is usually 75 cents, but they didn't have any. So I got this one. I'm displeased though, because this one you need 3 eggs to make it, and with how expensive that these were, it's fine, it's fine. So for the gumbo tonight, I'm just gonna be following sort of loosely this recipe. This is the authentic New Orleans gumbo from tastebetterfromscratch.com. I'm basically doing a use what you've got version of it, but that's what we're gonna follow along with. And the first thing that I'm gonna be doing is taking my bone-in, skin-on chicken thighs and turning them into boneless, skinless chicken thighs. I haven't done this process in a little bit, but all I do is remove the skin. And I also like to cut off like this little piece of fat right there. Flip it over. There is a line kind of right here, it runs along the bone. You see this little fat line. And the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna cut along that fat line and try to get as close to the bone as possible. And kind of pull the meat, move the bone, and just kind of cut along that. Turn it the other way. And again, I'm gonna pull the meat with my hands here. We're gonna cut as close to the bone as we can. Take your chicken thigh and you're gonna kind of pick it up by the bone. Take the tip of your knife and kind of shimmy it behind the bone, again as close as you can get as possible. And then just run your knife along it to cut that side out. So now we've cut off about half of the bone. And then using my knife, I'm going to fillet the rest of it off. So there is our bone. And then there is our chicken thigh. And I'm just gonna cut this like hard part off right here. And now we have a boneless, skinless chicken thigh. I have 4 of them, so I will repeat that for the other 4. Saving the scraps for the next time I make stock. I'm gonna take my chicken thighs and I'm gonna season both sides with some Cajun seasoning. I'm gonna start with the rest of my chicken schmaltz. That's probably about 2 to 3 tablespoons. Maybe a 1/4 cup. And first thing I'm gonna do is sear the chicken thighs for a few minutes on each side. Try to get some color. I'm kind of trying to do this all in one pan, so I'm gonna remove the chicken. It's not fully cooked at this point, but it'll finish cooking in the gumbo itself. It should be almost cooked. I did about 4 minutes per side. And it did stick to the pan a little bit, but that's not going to be an issue because we're going to use the vegetables to kind of break some of that up. Next, I'm going to go in with some smoked sausage, and we're going to let that fry as well. Let's remove that. And then we're gonna use the vegetables to deglaze the bottom of our pot. 2 bags of frozen seasoning blend. We're gonna really quickly go in there and try to get up all those brown bits on the bottom. That's really all I'm doing with this step. So what I did was I put the vegetables in there and I used them to kind of soak up the brown bits on the bottom of the pan, and then I'm starting fresh. Again, we're trying to do this all in one pot. So those were just kind of like prepping steps. Now I'm gonna start my pot over like medium to medium low heat, and we're gonna start it on the roux. For the roux, we've got 2/3 of a cup of oil. I'm just using regular vegetable oil. And then 1 kind of rounded cup of all-purpose flour. We're gonna get those mixed together. And again, this is on like medium, low heat. And we're gonna keep a super close eye on this and stir it very frequently, almost constantly, until it's like a chocolate brown color. I'm gonna tell you that it is better to do this on a lower heat than a higher one, especially if you're like me and you tend to get distracted really easily. Like I'm kind of chopping garlic and stuff like that. Like right now, I just chopped the chicken, I chopped the garlic. I'm kind of doing other things while this is cooking away. And if you don't want to have to be constantly babysitting it, just turn the heat down a little bit. Here's what we're looking like about, I want to say 8 to 10 minutes into the process. I just set a timer. I set a timer for 30 minutes. So I could show you exactly how long this process takes. We're kind of to the next stage, which is where our root is a very light brown color. We're probably about 15 minutes into the process, and I did turn the heat down a little bit because, again, I get distracted really easily. So I'd rather do this slow and slow than to burn it, which is what I did the first time I made gumbo. Once they get to this stage, which is like this peanut buttery type of color, I'm gonna stir it constantly. This is the copper stage, and I've just reduced the heat down a little bit. I think there's like a little song and dance here where like you want to speed up the process, so you turn up the heat a little bit, and then when you get like a little cautious, then you turn the heat back down a little bit, or at least that's kind of how I'm doing it. We are coming up on the 30-minute mark, and I have something that kind of resembles like a melted Hershey's bar, and you can go darker than this, but I'm going to stop there. So I'm gonna add in my veggies. So these are the veggies that I briefly sauteed. Also gonna add in a few cloves of minced garlic. And then I'm gonna slowly add in about 6 to 8 cups of chicken stock. This is my homemade chicken stock. This is the one that I had in the freezer, combined with one that I had in the fridge. And the one that I had in the freezer, I hadn't bought that little mesh sieve yet, so I wasn't able to strain it. So I'm gonna strain it into my gumbo base. Trying to use up the old one first, even though it was in my freezer. That is all. So that's all 6 cups of homemade chicken stock. And I've had the heat off this whole time. Again, I'm just terrified of messing this up. So turned off the heat. Now it says to bring this up to a boil. Once we are just about boiling, I'm gonna add in some Cajun seasoning. I used the store-bought Cajun seasoning for the chicken thighs, but I'm gonna use my homemade Cajun seasoning for the gumbo. I will put it's not my recipe, it's Emerald Lagasse's recipe. I just reduced the batch quite a lot because his is based in tablespoons. So I take his tablespoons and I make it in teaspoons. I'm just gonna dump the whole thing in there. Over this way, I have some rice going in my rice cooker. Now I'm gonna add back in my meat. So this is my chicken. I just went ahead and cut it into small pieces. At the bottom there is my sausage. And then I was able to get a good price on shrimp. I was able to get a pound of shrimp for $5.99. So I have about half of that here, about 8 ounces of shrimp. We're gonna dump that in. And I have also made a Dollar Tree version of a gumbo before. And now that Dollar Tree sells their shrimp, I mean, it is $5 for 8 ounces of shrimp. You can actually make this entire batch of gumbo using ingredients from Dollar Tree. I'm just gonna let that simmer for about 5 minutes or so until that shrimp is cooked, and then I will taste it for seasonings. You guys have to let me know, especially if I have any subscribers in Louisiana, which I know I do, or New Orleans. How's my gumbo look? This is only my 2nd time ever making gumbo. I'm gonna try to do that fancy presentation that I've seen where people take like a cup of rice and invert it into the bowl. So it forms like a little, oh that's cute, a little dome. I love it. And then with that, dinner is ready. So yesterday's gumbo turned out so good that I'm actually really excited to have the leftovers for lunch today when it's just the two of us, we typically just do that. I'll cook enough dinner that we can have leftovers for lunch the following day. That's a little bit more challenging when you have more mouths to feed, but when it's just the two of you, if you're okay with eating leftovers, it can be a really good money saver. Michael's currently working, so it's just me, but I went ahead and heated everything up so that whenever he's done or gets to a stopping point, he can just fix himself a bowl. So I've gone ahead and cooked up a fresh batch of rice, and then I just reheated the gumbo on the stove top so that we'll be ready when he is. I'm worried that if I do not get started on dinner right now, that I am not gonna have the motivation to do it at all. So it should be pretty quick. I'm just gonna go ahead and prep some burrito filling, and then when we get hungry later, it should be pretty easy to throw together the burritos and then grill them or something. When I originally made my meal plan and kind of pitched it to you guys, I said I was gonna use the Spanish rice to make burritos, but I have kind of a rule that I use up what I have before I start anything new, and I currently have some cooked rice in my fridge from making the gumbo. So I think we're gonna use this instead and just kind of doctor it up a little bit to make it more Spanish ricey. Kind of like fried rice, but with Mexican flavors instead of soy sauce. So that's the plan. Let's go ahead and get my skillet preheating over like medium-high heat. And I'm gonna throw down some oil and get that preheating. The first thing I'm gonna go in there is with some diced onion. And I'm gonna give that a few minutes to soften up the onions. My rice, each of these containers is 16 ounces, so I got about 4 cups of cooked rice. And we're just gonna kind of break that up. Meat masher might actually come in handy for breaking up these clumps of rice. In there with 1 8-ounce jar of tomato sauce. This is seasoned tomato sauce. And I'm also going to season it with some taco seasoning that I kind of whipped up pretty quickly. I'm going to do about a little over a tablespoon for now. I'm also going to add in a can of rinsed and drained black beans. And then lastly, I'm going to add in my thawed bag of salsa chicken. Honestly, that is pretty good for something I just kind of slapped together. I am going to add a little bit more of that taco seasoning. About another teaspoon or so. And that's it. That's my burrito filling. So again, I'm making this in advance so that when we get hungry, I can just throw together a burrito. So I will check back in with you when we're actually ready to eat dinner. So it's currently a little after 7 o'clock, and I think we're about ready to eat dinner because Michael's finishing up right now. I've gone ahead and put together little burrito bars. I'm going to heat up a skillet so I can warm up the tortillas. There is my chicken and rice mixture. We've got some shredded lettuce, cheese, sour cream. I diced up some tomatoes. I have those 2 little guacamole cups to use up. And if Michael wants it spicy, I have some jalapenos for him. He also likes sauce, so I might throw some of this Tabasco chipotle sauce on his. That's my little DIY burrito bar. Add a scoop of our chicken and rice filling. This one will be one of Michael's, so I'll add some of that chipotle sauce to it. Some sour cream, a little bit of lettuce, some cheese. I'm gonna kind of load his up. Tomato, some guacamole. I'll do about half the cup on each. Finish it off with some jalapeno. We gotta do the Taco Bell wrap. So you fold in the sides, pull it away from you, tuck it back under, tuck in the other sides that kind of poke out, and fold. All right, I'm gonna show you the wrap one more time. Fold in the sides, kind of press down and pull them away. You're gonna take this side, push it away from yourself, take your hands, tuck it back in. Then you're gonna grab these 2 extra little flaps on the side, tuck those in, and then tuck and roll. And those are our chicken burritos. And I have plenty of leftovers for lunch tomorrow, and I still have, let me move that to the front so it doesn't get, so I still have all the leftover gumbo, still have some chicken breast I need to cook up, the stock that I need to use or freeze. I might end up freezing some of that. And then now we have all this leftover, so I might not even need to cook tomorrow at all between the gumbo and the burritos, but we'll see. Hello, good morning, or what time is it? Oh yeah, good morning still, it's 10:52. It is chaos Tuesday, January 7th. I do still have the leftover chicken burritos and I have the leftover gumbo, but I am gonna cook today. I'm gonna make the barbecue chicken bowls today because I don't want today to be a full day of leftovers. What I'll probably end up doing is kind of staggering the leftovers in a bit, or I might end up freezing the gumbo or freezing the burrito filling because I have a lot of that burrito filling. I'm gonna be doing the slow cooker barbecue chicken from budgetbites.com. In my chicken video, I actually got a surprising amount of questions about my slow cooker because it doesn't look like a slow cooker. That's because it's technically not. It's a multi-cooker. So you can see it does rice, white rice, brown rice, sushi rice, quick rice. It does quinoa. It does soup, saute and simmer, oatmeal. It has a keep warm, a steamer function, but it has a slow cooker. So it's like an Instant Pot without the pressure cooker features, and it's kind of like my one-stop appliance that I use a lot. If you've been on my channel for a while, you will know that I used to have a white one, and I bought that one because it was a little bit smaller and I bought it specifically for travel. But after not even like a year or so, I started to have issues with the sensors in it because it is sensor based. So I would turn it on, I would fill up the insert, put it in there, set it to cook, and then like a few minutes later it would turn off as if it didn't have anything in there. This one is an older one. The older ones are sometimes better than the newer ones, as you guys know. This one actually came from Michael's storage unit. When he and I first met, he had one in storage, and I just kind of commandeered it as my own. And so when the newer one that I bought kind of went on the fritz, I just went back to using the old one, and I haven't had any issues with it since. So just kind of one of those lessons learned that newer isn't always better. And sometimes you need, and a lot of times the older things last longer than the newer ones. That is a shame to say because I think I spent like 50 bucks on that newer one, but we're using the older free one that I got from Michael. And speaking of things that I got from Michael, he just bought me this Stardew Valley mug. I know I said in my moving vlogs that I enjoy playing Stardew Valley, but I don't like, I'm not obsessed with playing Stardew Valley. I've been a little bit more obsessed with it since we've moved. I kind of spend a lot of my downtime playing it, but I have found that the joy in it, for me, is year one. So I'm kind of like a chronic restarter. I think I'm on like my 5th new save on that game. If you're familiar with the game, I did the standard farm a couple times and I thought that was okay. And then I thought Four Corners was the one for me. I was like, oh, this is perfect. It's so like neat and organized and I can make it like symmetrical and I'm gonna love it. But then I kind of lost interest in that one. But now I'm playing on the Hilltop Farm and I think that's the farm for me. If you don't play Stardew Valley, then this means nothing to you and that's okay. But I now have a Stardew Valley coffee mug and I think it's so cute and I absolutely love it. I have 2 boneless, skinless chicken breasts. This is from the whole chicken that I deboned. Recipe calls for 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika. I don't buy smoked paprika, it's too expensive. So I'm just gonna use regular ground paprika. Oh, that is pepper, that would have been bad. And some garlic powder. Just sprinkle that on top. Little zhuzh of black pepper. That's a lot of zhuzh, but that'll be fine. And some salt. And it calls for an entire bottle of barbecue sauce. So I have the Kraft. Interestingly enough, I like to kind of compare prices of things, especially when I know I can get those things at Dollar Tree. And this Kraft barbecue sauce at Grocery Outlet was $1.79. I'm like, well, I know I can get that for $1.25. So Dollar Tree is more or less on my way home from the Grocery Outlet. So we're just gonna pour that entire bottle in there. It says to cook this on high for 2.5 hours or on low for 4. I'm gonna go with the low for 4 because this is gonna be dinner and it's currently about 11 o'clock. And I think I am gonna go ahead and freeze this gumbo. It is absolutely delicious and I think it will make a fun bonus meal down the line. So if I ever don't feel like cooking, I can just pull this out of the freezer, let it thaw for like 30 minutes to an hour, and then whip up some rice and we're good to go. I'm also gonna freeze a bag of the chicken and rice. Okay. And I also try to freeze this flat. That helps me to save space in the freezer, but it also just makes it generally easier to thaw. There's our chicken and rice, and then we'll probably have some of this for lunch today. I'll make another batch of burritos. Perfect. That is a lot more reasonable of a portion for leftovers. I gave myself one of the ones with guacamole today, and then he's got one with guacamole and one without guacamole because I can only split this between 2 burritos, otherwise they don't really have much on them. I love leftovers. No work, nothing to clean, just quick and easy meals. There is the inside of the burrito with the guacamole. Doesn't that look so good? These are amazing. The barbecue chicken is ready pretty much. We're not quite hungry yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and get started on the potatoes because those are gonna take a minute. Now, you guys know I am an instant potato girly, but I have this 15-pound bag and I'm trying to use it up. Some of them have sprouts on them, so we need to hustle on this a bit. I'll set aside a couple of big ones for hash browns for the breakfast for dinner. So that is, I have 4 small potatoes and 3 medium potatoes, and now I have a big mess of dirt on my counter. So typically when I'm working with whole potatoes, if I'm peeling them, I don't bother washing them because what I'll do is I'll peel them and put them in water to clean them. Potatoes are peeled. Now I'm gonna cut them into about 1-inch pieces. I kind of change how I cut them depending on the size of the potato, but I try to get them pretty equal. Now that we've got some clean potatoes and clean water, we're gonna bring that up to a boil. Once they're boiling, which they're just about boiling, I'm gonna reduce the heat to low and I'm gonna let these simmer for about 18 to 20 minutes. It's only been 15 minutes, but I'm pretty sure these potatoes are done because when I gave them a stir, they've started to kind of break apart. I'm gonna check one with a fork, and if it goes through it easily, they are ready. A couple that still have a little bite, but I'm sure that'll be fine. Let's drain them and then move on to the next step. I like to make very simple, ultra creamy mashed potatoes. So I'm gonna start with some butter and margarine, about half a stick, and a splash of milk. You can always add more. I don't have a potato masher, so I'm gonna use an immersion blender. Potato masher works just as good, maybe even better. I almost forgot to season them though, until I went to go try some of that and was like, oh, those are bland. That's because I didn't add any salt or pepper to them. Oops. This meal is a bit unique and it's something that I prep every so often, and you can kind of think of it as a barbecue chicken version of a KFC famous bowl. So here's what we're doing. We're starting with a bed of mashed potatoes. Then we're gonna add on some corn. This is frozen corn that I just cooked in the microwave. I added a little bit of Blue Bonnet and some salt and pepper to it. This is our shredded barbecue chicken. And then our final additions are some shredded cheese. And of course, the crispy onions. And those are my barbecue chicken version of a KFC famous bowl. I just got out of the shower, so I still have wet hair. I am starving though. Michael is still working, so I'm just gonna make myself kind of a fend for yourself lunch. We do have some odds and ends to use up in the fridge. I'm gonna take the last of this chicken and rice mixture and just make myself like a little burrito bowl, which I'm just gonna reheat in the microwave. So there is my burrito bowl base. We're doing all of the same stuff, just sans tortilla. I do have 2 tortillas left, but I might use those to make breakfast burritos. So we're just gonna do some shredded lettuce. I should just go ahead and finish up some of these things, but some diced tomato. This is the sour cream that I bought. I used up the last of that other thing of sour cream, so I just opened up this new one. We'll give it a nice dollop of sour cream. Finish it off with a sprinkle of cheese, and that will be my lunch today, kind of like a taco salad almost. So today we decided to order pizza for dinner because we've been running around all day. Yeah? So we have the new, maybe?
Got it?
Yeah, I got it. Okay.
Why'd they put it?
I don't know. I don't know why they put it in a box. Okay.
All right.
So we've got the new 5 cheese mac and cheese, which he is super excited about because we love their 5 cheese dip from Domino's. And then our pizza of choice is the Wisconsin 6 cheese with extra sauce because we like it a little saucy. That'll focus $24. $24.39. So I used a 20% off coupon and I did carry out because I cannot pay delivery fees. Do we like it?
I'm in heaven.
So is that better than the Panera mac and cheese that you usually love?
I don't know about that.
You don't know about that?
I love Panera's mac and cheese. That is my favorite thing that they sell.
What about my Velveeta mac and cheese?
That's good too.
Yeah, the block of cheesy melt with milk and pasta.
I think there's a little too much Alfredo in it though.
Really?
I forgot that they put Alfredo in theirs.
Yeah, in the dip. Is it better than the mac and cheese that I got from Applebee's that one time? That was just watered down Alfredo sauce.
I'm not sure if I would call that mac and cheese.
Okay, yeah, that's just Alfredo.
Yeah.
That's just cheesy Alfredo. Aw.
That's kind of a bummer.
Okay, I mean, it's an Alfredo pasta with cheese.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's not bad.
It's good. It's not mac and cheese.
It's not mac and cheese.
No.
No.
Good afternoon. Today's lunch is just going to be leftover pizza from last night, which I will just either eat cold or reheat in the microwave. Probably just eat it cold. So I took out some chili to thaw for us to have for dinner tonight, and I've been thinking about this cornbread mix I got from Dollar Tree. Remember how I said, like, it makes a lot, calls for 3 eggs. It makes 18 corn muffins, and there is almost no situation in which I need 18 corn muffins. So I was thinking, since it calls for 3 eggs, if I divide the dry mix into 3 portions, I should be able to kind of use it like Jiffy mix. So I'm gonna give that a go today. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a 1/4 cup measuring cup, and I'm just going to, one at a time, divide this into 3 containers as evenly as I can. And then we will test that out tonight and see if that works. Because if it works, and you like the Jiffy corn muffin mix, this works out to be about 40 cents each versus, I think, depending on where you buy Jiffy mix, it can be anywhere from like 60 cents to 75 cents. So, I mean, not a huge savings, but just an interesting theory that I want to test out. It's about 3 o'clock and I'm feeling a little peckish, so I whipped up a quick little sandwich and I'm gonna have it with one of these spicy pickles from Dollar Tree. These are almost like a slightly spicy bread and butter pickle, and I've really been liking them, especially to go along with my sandwich. I've mentioned before that Michael and I aren't really breakfast eaters. We typically just brew some coffee in the morning, that's kind of our breakfast, and then we'll eat lunch, you know, sometime between 12 and 1. So what I'm trying to say is we don't really do a breakfast, lunch, dinner structure when it's like the 2 of us. I'd say we're more akin to eating like hobbits with like lunch, dinner, second dinner, stuff like that. So we just kind of munch on things because 2 people and you have a lot of leftovers, you gotta kind of munch on things to get it gone. So I didn't mean to make a full grocery trip today, but it was kind of an opportune moment. We go pick up the kids tomorrow afternoon, so it's probably just gonna be too busy for me to go to the store tomorrow, and then I don't wanna have to go on Saturday when the kids are here. So Michael sent me to get him some lotion because he's got a bit of a rash on his wrist from his watch. And I figured while I was there, I would look for some bargains, and then I ended up pretty much buying a cart of groceries. But I got some really good prices on things. I'm excited to show you this haul. Let's start with anything that I got that was 99 cents or less. So in the 99-cent category, here's what we've got. I've got 3 more of these oatmeal chocolate chip cookie mixes. These were the family packs and the kids really like these. So since they still had them, I picked up 3 more. We have 2 cans of red enchilada sauce. We have Food Lion brand. Oh my goodness, I'm like nostalgic already. Food Lion brand white cheese crackers, 99 cents. Food Lion is not out here in Washington, so that's very funny to see at the grocery outlet. These are probably gonna be for me, just some chocolate Fiber One bars. These were actually $1.50, but Sonic the Hedgehog fruit snacks. These were 99 cents, the graham crackers. I got 2 boxes of Halloween cereal. Michael really likes this, and that was 99 cents. We've got some of this bubble fruit stuff, and then some Ritz style crackers. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 items plus 50 cents. So $14.50 for all of that. These were $1.99, but I thought they'd be fun because the kids love Minecraft. So I got that for them. I also got them these Plezzy Island punches. We tried those last time they were here and they really like them. These are $1.99 each. And now for produce, I have a big bag of apples. This was $4.99, but it comes with 8 really large apples. We have a bundle of bananas. I will have to check the prices on some of these and I'll put them on screen if I don't specifically mention them. The celery was $1.99. I got a head of lettuce. I got a little bundle of tomatoes. 2-pound bag of carrots and some onions. Those are kind of my general aromatics. We've got a 10-pound bag of potatoes, and then we have 3 frozen vegetables. I have corn, green beans, and peas. Very limited on freezer space, and I still have a bag of broccoli in there, so I didn't need to pick up any. Now for meats, I have a 3-pound roll of 73.27 ground beef. This was $11.99. Smoked sausage, this was $3.99. Bacon, this was $3.99. And then 2 whole chickens. This one is $8.25 and this one is $8.69. I'm gonna do my whole chicken process with these. And then lastly, we have some odds and ends. The lotion that I was sent to the grocery store to get, this was $2.99. Some American cheese, this was $3.99, I believe. I don't remember how much the orange juice was. Ginger. I have 2 cans of tomato sauce. Those were 69 cents each. Should have included those in the 99-cent and below. Cornstarch and soy sauce. These specifically are because Michael's kids love orange chicken, so I'm going to attempt to make them some orange chicken on Saturday. Lastly, for bread, a loaf of sandwich bread and some hamburger buns. The hamburger buns I could have gotten at Dollar Tree, but I didn't really want to make a second stop just for one item. These were $1.50, so 25 cents more. And the loaf of bread is bigger than the loaf that's sold at Dollar Tree. The one at Dollar Tree is only about that wide, so this is 25 cents more, but you get more with it. And my total cost for all of that was $111.45. For the orange chicken specifically, it would have been cheaper for me to buy pre-made orange chicken. They had a couple bags. They had some that were like $4.99 a bag, but I want to try making it. I've never made it before, so I figured it was worth trying to make it at least once. And then if they don't like it, next time we'll just try the pre-packaged stuff and see if they like that instead. And now, as compared to the beginning of the video, we have a nice fully stocked fridge of everything: meat, cheese, produce, eggs, milk. Well, I only have about a half gallon of milk, so I might have to get some more, but that should be the only thing that I might need to buy in the next like week or two. Michael and I have a wedding to attend next weekend, so 1 week from tomorrow we're gonna be flying to New Mexico for his friend's wedding. When we were driving cross country, we stopped in Albuquerque to visit one of his Navy buddies. His Navy buddy's getting married, so we're gonna go attend that wedding. My goal is for everything that I bought to last us at least until then, and possibly longer than that. We're gonna kind of play this game of how long can we go without going to the grocery store. Honestly, it's one of my favorite games to play. Let's go ahead and test out our cornbread theory and get dinner reheated. So we're just doing chili tonight, really simple, because I'm about to spend probably an hour cutting up those chickens and getting that process going too. All right, so there is 1 serving of our little corn muffin mix. And I'm going to pretend like this is a box of Jiffy and make it accordingly. I just realized I have a cracked egg in there. I think that happened on my way home one day. And let's go with a 1/3 cup of milk and see what the consistency looks like. I'm really optimistic that this will work. I don't really see why it wouldn't work, but you never know. So those are the result of my little cornbread experiment, and I think they turned out pretty perfect. Those turned out great. I've got our bowls of chili. We're gonna crumble some cornbread into them. And that is gonna be our dinner. And after dinner, I'm gonna start working on my chickens because I bought the 2 whole chickens. So I'm gonna start cutting those up, getting the bones roasted for stock. I have a whole video on the whole process. You can feel free to reference that. But that's how I'm gonna be spending my evening. I'm going to pretty much attempt to document all of our meals for the entire month of January, and maybe all of our meals for the entire year. I don't want to commit to that, but I'm gonna try to document all of our meals for the entire month of January. So I took one, you saw I had 2 potatoes left in that small bag. I took one of the large ones and I finally diced it up. I am frying that in some bacon grease that I had in my fridge. So we're gonna let those get super crispy. And then when I showed you my fridge, you saw I had some sausage patties in there, and I also had a few slices of cooked bacon. And then the last thing is when I made those chicken burritos. Each day I made 2 for Michael and 1 for me. So that was 6 burritos total. Packages of tortillas come with 8, so I have 2 left over. So if you haven't guessed, we are making breakfast burritos this morning. It's currently around 11:30. So I'm gonna let these potatoes fry up until they are super brown and crispy, and then I'll show you the next step. All right, that is about what I'm looking for. Everything is nice and golden brown. My inspiration for breakfast burritos, all breakfast burritos, are Sonic's burritos, because I think their breakfast burritos are elite. They have tater tots on them, and I don't have any tater tots, so I'm just trying to make fried potatoes just to get that same kind of vibe. I'm gonna crack and scramble 4 eggs, and one of these eggs is the broken one from last night that I noticed in my carton. I'm gonna pour that right over top of my potato, sausage, and bacon mixture and scramble that all together. I don't really feel like warming up these tortillas, and I'm going to grill these burritos anyway, so to me it's not really gonna matter, because I can fold them without warming them up. I'm gonna go on there with a sprinkle of cheddar cheese, some fresh diced tomato, and a few jalapeno slices. And then my final little step here, over like medium-low heat, is going to grill these burritos to get them some char on the outside. And that is my breakfast burrito. I don't normally put bacon in breakfast burritos because I don't normally buy more than 1 breakfast meat, but since the kids love bacon and I had some, you know, I just kind of threw it in there, and I think that might be one of my best breakfast burritos that I've made in a long time. There's also something about like fresh tomato, not salsa, but like just plain tomato in a breakfast burrito that I really like. So again, Sonic's breakfast burrito is kind of supreme to me. And it's one of my favorites to recreate at home, even if I can't recreate it 100% and I just use what I've got and use Sonic as like an inspiration or a base. I haven't had a breakfast burrito in a really long time, so this is perfect for me. Today's Monday. The last day you guys saw me was Friday, and I'm just gonna take you through like a really quick recap of the weekend, everything we did and ate. Friday night we went to go pick up the kids. I think we picked them up around 5, right?
Yeah.
5 o'clock. And our plan is, you know, we get the kids every 2 weeks and we'd like to implement a tradition where we take them out for ice cream whenever we pick them up on Fridays. Seeing as this week we picked them up around 5 o'clock and they hadn't eaten dinner yet, we just went out for dinner and ice cream because we didn't want to just do ice cream if they hadn't had dinner. So we went to a little diner that's kind of a family tradition for Michael, and we had dinner and ice cream. Saturday was an open house day. We decided to swing by a few open houses that day. A few of the houses that we drove by had some open houses, so we decided to stop in, and some of them were really bad. So those are no's. Kids had cereal for breakfast. Michael and I are just coffee people. And for lunch, we ended up going to Subway because I had some coupons. So I've been kind of keeping the mailers that come in every week and checking them for food coupons. And this week I had a 3 footlongs for $19.99. So that was really easy and really cheap. Saturday night, I had intended to film our dinner and I did get some clips from it, but I did not film the entire thing. Michael's mom came over for dinner and I made orange chicken for everyone and the kids. The kids absolutely loved it and they have requested I make it again in 2 weeks. So again, I got a few clips of that, but I didn't want to be intrusive and film myself while Michael's mom was visiting. Never fear, I will be making that again in about 2 weeks and I will share the recipe then, but it was a hit. Everybody loved it. We had that with some rice and some broccoli. Then Sunday morning, we did ham and cheese roll-ups again using the crescent rolls, and I had a comment suggestion to, instead of separating the crescent rolls into 8 triangles, to leave them in 4 rectangles. That way the ham fits better on it, and that worked perfectly. I did American cheese and deli ham, and we all really loved that one. So that's the way I'm gonna be doing it from now on. Then Sunday for lunch, I made this 1-pan chicken and rice. That was a contracted video, so I had to film it vertically, so I couldn't film it for you guys. Really, it was just chicken thighs seasoned and cooked with rice and green beans. We dropped the kids off Sunday at 4, and then Michael and I just came home and we had some of the leftover barbecue from earlier in the week. I just made us some barbecue sandwiches, and other than that, we just kind of snacked on things throughout the night, which brings us up to today. I have a ton of chicken stock in my fridge because I've been buying 2 chickens and kind of processing them and making stock, and I'm getting like a backlog of stock. So I need to make some soup, but I want to make some bread to go with the soup. So this is overnight bread, and I prepped this in about 5 minutes last night. It's 3½ cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of salt, a ½ teaspoon of active dry yeast, and a 1½ cups of warm water. I just mixed that all together, covered it with plastic wrap, and it's been sitting on my counter since last night. This is the no-knead bread from Gimme Some Oven, and I'm kind of testing it out because I haven't tried this recipe before. So I'm gonna go ahead and preheat the oven to 450 as it calls for. And this bread is meant to be baked inside a Dutch oven, so you do put this inside the oven to preheat with the oven. So this dough has been just sitting on my counter started at like 10 o'clock last night. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It says to transfer the dough to a well-floured surface. Fold the dough on top of itself, pulling the outer edges up and into the center until it feels a bit tighter and hold its shape to form a round dough ball, okay? This is not the way that I would usually shape bread. Fold the dough on top of itself, pulling the outer edges up and into the center. The normal way I would normally shape bread is like this, where I use my hands and just kind of cup it and form it into a ball. clear off my space here a little bit because now we're supposed to transfer our dough ball to a sheet of parchment paper. It says to lightly flour the top. And I'm just going to cover it up with the same sheet of plastic wrap that I used for the dough initially. We're going to let that set while the oven preheats. So my oven is just about preheated, and it does say that if the bread kind of spreads a bit too much that you can reshape it, but I think that this shape is fine, at least for the size of my Dutch oven. Plus I feel like once you've moved it to the parchment paper, it's not that easy to just reshape it. These next couple steps are going to move pretty quickly. Your Dutch oven will be very hot. I have accidentally forgot that the lid is also hot and grabbed it with my bare hands before, so that was fun. But now we're going to move our dough on the parchment paper. Just grab it by the parchment paper and drop it directly in there. Again, oven mitt. This is where I mucked up before. Be careful. All right, now we're gonna pop that back in the oven for 30 minutes. Let's check on our bread now that it's been about 30 minutes, and we are going to also remove the lid. It's got a big old ear on that. We're going to put it back in the oven and let it finish baking for another 20 minutes or so. It has only been 15 minutes since I took the lid off, but I think it's nicely browned. This is what I was talking about. This is like quite a large ear, but that's okay. You can score it to help with that potentially. We're gonna remove it from the Dutch oven. Again, be very careful. Everything is very, very hot right now. And we are going to do the hardest part of making this bread, which is waiting for it to cool completely before we slice into it, which is why I started this process like around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, so that by the time dinner is ready, the bread will be too. I'm going to make a loaded baked potato soup, but I need to start with a bit of a strange step because all I have is 2% milk and I need something a little bit more concentrated than that. So I think I'm gonna reduce down the milk that I have just a smidge. So my goal is to get this milk reduced down by about 1/4 to 1/2 at least without scorching it. This is something I've never attempted before, so I don't really quite know how well it's gonna work. Kind of trying to make my own evaporated milk in a sense. So I've got my heat pretty low and it's just kind of simmering away. And the internet says that this process can take anywhere from 25 to 30 minutes. So I'm just gonna let it simmer and we're gonna see what happens. So I let that reduce down until I had a little over like 1.5 cups or so. I think I started out with about 4 cups total. So I'm gonna let this cool and set it up to the side. I did run this through a strainer a couple of times because I ended up with a substance that looks like cheese. And I'm not quite sure what happened there. Maybe I did accidentally make cheese, who knows? So I think we can go and get started on our soup. I'm gonna start by browning up some bacon. This is a whole pack of bacon that I've cut into bite-sized pieces. So I am gonna strain it, but I'm gonna save the fat. As usual. It's getting a little smoky in here. I'm gonna add in a couple tablespoons of that bacon fat and 1 minced onion. And I'm almost out of flour, but I should have enough to add about 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. That's gonna be the base of our roux, so we have a nice thick soup. Of course, you can omit the flour if you prefer. Now here's when I'm going to start to add in some of my homemade chicken stock, a little bit at a time. That was about 4 cups of stock. I am gonna need to season this pretty liberally with salt and pepper because my broth that I added was completely unseasoned. It's just broth that I made myself, so it has no salt, pepper, nothing in it. And then I'm also gonna add in my potatoes. This is about 6 potatoes that I peeled, diced, and washed. And I'm also going to go and add in my milk that I simmered down to thicken it up a bit. I need to taste it to see if I need to add any more salt, pepper, or any other seasonings to it. Oh, I actually think I got the seasonings pretty right on the money with that. And we're just going to keep it really simple with just that. Just a fair bit of salt and pepper. Because we're going for like a loaded baked potato soup. So a lot of the flavor is going to come from the toppings that we add to it, like cheese, sour cream, and bacon. We are boiling, so I'm going to give this one last stir for now. And then I am going to cover this and let it simmer until the potatoes are cooked, which should take about 12 to 15 minutes. In the meantime, I am very excited to see what's going on with our bread. We have a really nice crusty loaf here. I have tried a few of these kind of overnight bread recipes, and the biggest part that I struggle with is cutting it because I always find that the bottom is too hard. So let's see if that is the case with this one. I also saw a sourdough video recently where they suggested to cut the whole loaf in half. So let's try that. This is not sourdough bread, but it's kind of like, it's got the same hard bottom. So that's the inside of our loaf there. Try to cut through that the rest of the way. And then that video that I saw suggested then to turn it and cut it into slices this way. Which I think is the solution that I have been looking for when it comes to these overnight bread loaves. And part of the reason that I wanted to make another batch was to test out this cutting method to see if I like that better. And I definitely think I do. That is a lot easier than the way I usually cut things. Alright, let's check on our potato soup. It's only been simmering for about 10 minutes, so I'm just giving it a stir. And potatoes are also salt magnets, so I'm gonna try it again and see if the seasonings are still right. They absorbed a lot of that, so let's go with a little more salt and pepper. I'm gonna give it a couple of pulses with the blender just to break up some of those potatoes. Like, I don't just want it to be a big old pot of mashed potatoes. I still want to have some chunks of potatoes, but that'll just thicken it up. All right, I think we're pretty much ready to plate this one up. So I'm gonna start by plating or adding the soup to a bowl, and then we're gonna let this cool a bit because the soup is quite hot still. So we're gonna add some loaded potato toppings, starting with some shredded cheese, some of our cooked bacon, and lastly, a good dollop of sour cream. Told you guys, we put cheese and sour cream on almost everything, so it's something I always try to keep in the fridge. I took my sliced bread and I stuck it in the oven at 250 degrees, just so it's nice and warm and toasty. And that is dinner. We have our loaded potato soup with some freshly baked bread. So today's lunch is the leftover potato soup from last night's dinner. I also reheated the bread in the oven to get it a little crispy again. Nice, warm, crispy bread. And we did all the same toppings, so cheese, bacon, and sour cream. And that was the last of my sour cream. And also I used all of the bacon between the 4 bowls of soup. So that is lunch. We are gonna have burgers tonight for dinner because we've been having so much chicken over the past couple weeks, and I did buy ground beef. So I have some hamburger buns. Let's make some burgers. So when I showed you my grocery haul, I showed you that I bought this 3-pound roll of ground beef. One thing I like to do is I actually make 4 meals out of it instead of 3. So I cut it in half. And then I cut each of those halves in half. One of these will be our dinner tonight. I'm gonna stick these other 3 in my freezer. So these are about 3/4 of a pound each. So I'm also gonna cut this one in half. And cut those in half to make 4 patties. And I'm just going to form them into a ball. I'm not adding anything to it at this point, just shaping them. Now, this next step is kind of optional because you can do this in the skillet, but I like to do it in advance. And basically what I like to do is like to make smash burgers. So I like to make those really thin patties because Michael doesn't really like a super meaty burger. But I have 8 sheets of parchment paper, and you'll kind of want something with like a flat bottom. So I'm gonna use a dinner plate for that. So I'm gonna take one of my little beef rounds there, and I'm gonna sandwich it between 2 sheets of parchment paper, press it down with my hand slightly, and then I'm gonna take the plate and I'm gonna press it down into a nice thin round. So I just form it into a nice thin patty, and then I'll set that aside and I'll repeat it for the other 3 burgers. There are my 4 burger patties prepped. Now this is something you can also do and freeze. If you like burgers a lot, you can prep these in advance. They also sell pre-cut sheets of parchment paper at Dollar Tree, which is something I usually use, but I don't have any of those right now, so I cut my own this time. I'm gonna get a skillet preheating over medium to medium-high heat. A little bit closer to the medium-high side of things. You will want to make sure you have everything kind of prepped in advance before you start this, because once we get the burger patties on there, this is going to move really quickly because these are very thin patties, so they don't need a lot of time to cook. So I'm going to go ahead and get my cheese unwrapped. So I'm going to remove the top layer of parchment, and we're going to just smack it down on our skillet, remove the bottom layer. I can only cook about 2 at a time in this skillet. Move that over. I can stick the second one. And I also have opened up doors and windows because this gets a little smoky. And we're gonna flip it. And as soon as you flip it, go and add on that cheese. Let it cook for the 2nd minute. Take it off the heat. I set it on a plate to let it rest. We're gonna immediately pop in there with our second set. Even with the door open, it's getting a little smoky in here. I oftentimes will accidentally set off the smoke alarm doing this, but and they're really easy. Set those on the plate. I'm going to drain the fat from my skillet. So I've drained the fat from my skillet. I've gone ahead and just kind of rinsed it out briefly. Let the smoke kind of die down in here a bit. But we're going to butter and toast our buns using a stick of Blue Bonnet, just kind of coating the bottom of the skillet. And we're going to go down there with our hamburger buns. Kind of toasted those a little well, but I've got one that's a little less toasted, one that's a little more toasted. Let's go down with some mayonnaise. You want a single or double, hon? You want a double?
Sure.
All right. Some ketchup, ketchup, mustard. This is the last of a head of lettuce that I had in my fridge. Let's try to pull off some of the green leafy bits. Slice of tomato, slice of onion, a couple of pickles, and I don't have much left for jalapenos, so just a couple of little mini jalapenos. I wish I had like those toothpick skewers to put through the burger. My smashed potatoes turned out okay, but I don't think they turned out quite like I was hoping that they would. This is my second time trying to make smashed potatoes, and every time I feel like they're kind of disappointing. So if I can't get them to turn out this time, I'm probably never gonna try them again. But at the very least, we have a big, beautiful burger. So I feel like that one is the best looking one out of the bunch. The rest of them, I guess the rest of them are decent, but they're not quite as brown, and they're definitely not crispy. But I am a woman of science, so let's at least try one and see if they're worth the hype. I'm gonna go for at least the best one in the bunch. All right, let's try our smashed potatoes. Totally a gimmick. These aren't even that good.
No?
Mm-mm.
Uh-oh.
I mean, no. We both tried the smashed potatoes and we both agree they're not worth the effort. They're not very good. So if you're thinking about trying them, I would probably advise to do a very small batch of them, not a big batch like I did. So this feels like a really good stopping point to this week's meals. I know the smashed potatoes didn't quite turn out, but cheeseburgers are one of my all-time favorite things to make at home. They are so much better than fast food, and we all know how expensive even fast food is these days, so being able to make them better and cheaper at home is a win for me. I would like to end this video the same way that I ended last week's video, which is by showing you a quick fridge and freezer inventory, and then next week we'll get started again. I am not going to be going back to the grocery store until sometime next week after we get back from the wedding that we have to attend in New Mexico. All right, so let's see what we're working with in the fridge and the freezer. Starting with the fridge, I still have a half a bottle of orange juice. I also have carrots, celery, and a whole head of lettuce. This is all unopened. Haven't touched that yet. I'm starting to get quite the stockpile on like cooking fats. So these two are both bacon fat, and then this one is chicken schmaltz. I have the onion that I sliced for burgers tonight, and some diced tomatoes. This back here is still honey butter, which I also need to figure out a use for. I have 2 eggs left in that carton. I have a few apples left. I think there's 4 or 5 left in there. And then this is cooked white rice. I also have 2 chicken breasts, and I have my legs. So I have 2 bags of legs. They each have 4 in them, so 8 total. Still have the smoked sausage and the breakfast sausage in here. I know you guys said not to keep tomatoes in the fridge. I see that all the time. I have always kept tomatoes in the fridge. I prefer them in the fridge. I like cold tomatoes. I have a couple of, I guess I have 3 carrots left in that bag. I will say I do kind of regret buying celery and carrots this week. I thought I needed them. Turns out I did not. I had enough carrots and celery to make my chicken stock this week, and that was the primary reason that I bought them. Moving on to the cheese drawer, which is quite dwindled down since the last time you guys saw it. This is like some Parmesan cheese I had left over for Christmas, American cheese, cheddar cheese. I have an unopened sleeve of provolone cheese, and I have some string cheese. Dwindling down a bit on the deli meat, I just opened up that last like little pack of ham, so that's pretty full, but I have almost no turkey left in there. And then of course we have our condiments in this store. Still have milk and coffee creamer, some drinks for the kids. The freezer is kind of the perpetual problem, especially when it's just the 2 of us, because we do not go through things that quickly. So I have the 3 ground beefs that are just stuck in there today. I am now up to 4 bags of chicken stock, so I need to start making some soups because I have these 2 here and I have these 2 here. So, a bunch of chili, my yeast, move all that out of the way. I have the chicken and rice, some salsa chicken still, corn dogs, the stuffed shells, and chicken nuggets. And then over here, I'm gonna move some stuff out of the way. There's the chicken stock that I've frozen. This is kind of like a lot of like open or half-used bags. So the rest of the shrimp from the Gumbo, the rest of the blueberries from last week, and an open bag of green beans, chicken wings. I have corn and peas down there. And, oh, those are the chicken tenderloins. So it's a bit full in there right now. That's the fridge and freezer inventory on Tuesday. Hi. Hello. We're still here Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday morning, and then we fly to New Mexico on Friday night. So I'll probably get through some of that before the weekend. I'm not too worried about stuff in the freezer because obviously that'll be good until we get back. But I am going to try to work through some things in the fridge before we leave. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and I will see you again soon.